to learn about something called the quadratic formula. Now, since we were talking about quadratic equations before Christmas, and most of you guys probably forgot, I can help you out with it later, but not right now. Okay, most of you guys forgot, this is a quadratic equation. This is the ax squared plus bx plus c is the general form of a quadratic equation, where a, b, and c are real numbers. Something like this: 2x squared plus 6x minus 7 equals 0. That would be an example of a quadratic equation. Okay? Now, before Christmas, do you guys remember we were learning how to solve these by factoring? And we would take something like this problem right here: x squared plus 10x plus 24 equals 0, and we could solve it by factoring. We could say, okay, what two numbers can I times together and get 24 and add together and get 10? 6 and 4. So it factored to be x plus 6 and x plus 4. And you guys actually just did a problem like this on your assignment, where I gave you a problem that was kind of like this. It was factored form. And you put 0 in over here, and you had to solve it. Remember, all you had to do is say, what number can I put in for x plus 6 and get 0? Negative 6, right? And on this one, negative 4, right? And so the x-intercepts were negative 6 comma 0 and negative 4 comma 0. And we solved some problems like that. Do you remember doing this before Christmas? We did that before Christmas. Okay? So that's called solving a quadratic equation by factoring. Well, guess what? Not all equations can be solved by factoring. Okay? Not all quadratic equations can be solved by graphing. We also learned how to do them by graphing. Okay? So what we're going to do today is learn how to solve them by using what we call the quadratic formula. Now, you guys today are going to have to, we're going to memorize the quadratic formula. Okay? This is probably one of the most important things that you'll learn to help you with your next year's math class. Okay? The quadratic formula. You'll be using it all the time. Okay? So I'm going to teach it to you right now, and we're going to sing a song about it. I know this song about it. Okay? It's really fun. You guys will like it. So here we go. Before we do that, I'm going to show you how we get the quadratic formula. I want everybody to put their pencils down and watch this. I'm not doing this to show off or anything. I'm just doing it because I want you to understand that the quadratic formula is not something some mathematicians just wrote down and said this is the quadratic formula. They came up with it by doing math. Okay, Hope, watch this. Okay, they did this by completing the square. We did a little bit of completing the square earlier. Okay, to complete the square, you're going to group the first two terms, and you're going to factor out. And you're going to factor out. You can't have a number other than 1 right here, and so we're going to factor out an a. So we're going to have a times x squared plus b over a x. We're going to leave a space to complete the square, and we are going to minus c to the other side. Okay? So don't write this down. Just watch it. I want you to see kind of a process. Okay? And then what we have to do now is we complete the square by taking half of b over a. Remember doing this? So I go 1/2 times b over a, and that gives me b over 2a. And I'm going to square that number. Do you remember squaring it? B squared is b squared. 2 squared is 4. A squared is a squared. A squared is a squared. And so I'm going to add b squared over 4a squared to both sides of this equation. If I add something to one side of the equation, I've got to do it on the other side of the equation, right? But really, this is an a times b squared. This number right here isn't just b squared divided by 4a squared. It's a times that. Well, if I times a by b squared over 4a squared, this a will cancel with one of those, and I get b squared over 4a. So that's what I'm going to add to this guy, b squared over 4a. Okay, now, we're trying to get x by itself, by the way. That's our goal. Okay, when we solve one of these. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is this is a perfect square trinomial now. I know it doesn't look like one to you guys, but it is a perfect square trinomial. And it factors to be x plus, what was it that I took half of? B over a, right? X plus b over a. actually b over 2a. So this factors would be b over 2a. Okay, squared. X plus b over 2a times x plus b over 2a. And on the other side, just because I know how this is supposed to end up, we're going to switch those two around. We're going to write b squared over 4a here minus the c on the other side. Okay? Now, we are going to divide both sides by a at this point. Okay? And think of dividing by a by timesing by 1 over a. And if I do that, these cancel out, and I get x plus b over 2a squared equals, and if I times these together, I get b squared over 4a squared minus c over a. Now I got to get it. I want to combine these into one fraction, so I've got to get a common denominator. So what do I got to times this one by? Top and bottom of this one by to get a common denominator. I went from 4a squared to a. What do I have to times a by to get 4a squared? 4a. I've got to times the top and bottom of this by 4a. Okay? And so, right here, I have x plus b over 2a squared equals b squared minus c times 4a is 4ac, all divided by 4a squared, right? Now, we're trying to get this x by itself. So what do you think I'm going to do next if I have this squared? It's the opposite of squaring. Square rooting. I'm going to square root both sides. And this is going to be leaving me with x plus b over 2a. Look how close we're getting. Equals plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by, guess what the square root of 4a squared is? What's the square root of 4? 2. What's the square root of a squared? It's a. So I get that right there. Okay, we're almost done. What's the last thing I need to do to get x by itself? I got a minus b over 2a from both sides, don't I? It's plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. We are almost there. All we have to do is notice these two fractions have the same denominator. Can I add them together? Yeah. And then when I add them together, guess what we're going to have? Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Guess what that is, you guys? That is the quadratic formula. Everybody, write this down in your notes, just this part. Quadratic formula. You're going to need to memorize this. I'm going to help you memorize it right now because we're going to sing a song. As soon as you guys all got it done, we are going to sing. What song am I going to not sing? What? I had you guys sing this song before? How does it go, Jordan?
I don't even care to remember.
I didn't teach you guys a song. I taught my other class a song, but I didn't teach you guys a song. What's the tune to? What's the tune? You're the only one that seems to remember. Does anybody else remember singing a song in here?
No.
All right. So you can tell Dan's excited about singing this song. Okay? All right. We're going to sing a song. Okay? I'm going to sing it to you guys while you guys finish writing it down. You have to have it written down for your next test. This goes on the next test. You guys ready? I'm even going to record my voice. That's how confident I am in myself. Not really. I'm the world's worst singer. But I'm getting better because I practice. Okay, you guys ready? You guys know the song Pop Goes the Weasel? It goes to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. So here we go. I'm going to sing it for you. Listen. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Jordan, you know you're going to love this. All right. Okay, so I'm going to sing it one more time, and then we're going to sing it together. You guys ready? I'm going to turn this off now. 1, 2, ready, sing. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. That was actually decent. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, you guys, is I'm going to show you how to use it. Okay, so let's say, oh, by the way, we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is the general form. So if I give you a quadratic equation that looks like this, the number in front of the x squared is going to be a, the number in front of x is going to be b, and the c is your constant. So I'm going to give you one. 2x squared plus 10x plus 5 equals 0. And we are going to solve this using the quadratic formula. So in order to do this, you need to know what a, b, and c are. And then you have to plug them in. Raise your hand if you know what a, b, and c are, because I've taught you this before. You all should know. We did it on the last assignment. Okay, Anne-Marie, what's a, b, and c? Thank you. Whoa, whoa. You said 5 and I wrote 10. I don't know why. Okay. So we're going to plug these in to this formula right here. Everywhere where there's a b, you're going to put what?
Plus or minus.
Everywhere there's a b, what are you going to put? Jameson, wherever there's a b, what are you going to put? And wherever there's an a, what are you going to put? And wherever there's a c, what are you going to put? 5. So let's go. So x equals negative b. I like to think of that as the opposite of b. What's the opposite of 10?
Negative 10.
Negative 10. So negative 10 plus or minus the square root of b squared. What's 10 squared? 100. Minus 4 times a. What's a? 2. What's c? What is c, you guys? 5. All divided by 2 times a. 2 times 2 is 4. Notice that this bottom number is under all of it, both this part and this part. Okay? Now, after you get the numbers all plugged in there, the next thing is to simplify what's inside the square root. We have to go 100 minus 4 times 2 times 5. I want to see how many of you get it right. Everybody calculate it really quickly, and I'll tell you if you got it right. Do not say it out loud.
7.
When you think you got it, raise your hand. What's inside the square root? What does that simplify to be? When you got it, raise your hand. 3 people? Is it? Come on, you guys. What is 100 minus 4 times 2 times 5? Say it out loud, everybody. 60. It's 60. Okay. So negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 60 over 4. Now, what we have to, no, it's negative 10 because it was the opposite of 10. Yeah, because it says negative b. Negative b means the opposite of b. Because when we solved, remember when I just showed you that big long thing of how I solved it? When I minused, see this b over 2a, and minus it to the other side, that made that b negative. Okay? Right here. Okay, so we go back right here. And we have x equals negative 10 plus or minus 60 over 4. We're not going to use our calculators to write 60 as an irrational number. What we are going to do is we are going to simplify the square root of 60. Actually, I think all the ones on your assignment, this is a perfect square, like 16. What's the square root of 16? 4. So they come out to be nice numbers today. Okay? So, but this one, do you guys remember how to break down 60? What does 60 break down to? 30 and 2. What does 30 break down to? 2 and 15. And what does 15 break down to? 3 and 5. I have a pair of something. What do I have a pair of? 2. And then what happens to these two loners, 3 and 5? They go inside. Okay, so I'm going to have negative 10 plus or minus what? 2 times the square root of 3 times 5, which is 15, all over 4. We're almost done. Yeah, you will. Because you practice it and you do it. And all it is plugging numbers in a formula. Well, we've been practicing this step. Have you not been practicing it? Okay. You guys, what number goes into 10, 2, and 4? What number goes into all three of those numbers? 2. 2 goes into all three of those numbers. So we're going to divide 2 into all of them. 2 into negative 10 is what? Negative 5. 2 into 2 is what? 1. So 1 square root of 15, or just square root of 15. And 2 into 4 is? And that's your answer. Negative 5 plus the square root of 15 over 2, and negative 5 minus the square root of 15 over 2. There's 2 answers there. Okay. Guess what? You're not going to be doing these kind of problems yet. That's actually in a few assignments from now. You're going to be doing the quadratic formula. The number right here will always be a perfect square. Like the square root of 16, you'll get something like 4. Okay. So, everybody, on your assignment, the one I just handed out to you, everybody turn it over. No, go to problem number 10. Can I borrow this for a second, John? Everybody go to problem number 10. And f of x equals x squared plus 4x minus 12. I want everybody in your groups to do that problem and get as far as you can on it. I am going to come around and see how you did on it. Go. It asks you to do 4 things right here. It says find f of 0. And then find, no, f of 0 is not 0. Then it says f of 2. And then it says find f of x equals 0. What is x? And the last part tells you to find f of x equals 20. And what is x equal to? Now, if you notice, this one right here, 0, putting 0 in for x is just finding the y-intercept. So everybody, right by the first one said, this is finding the y-intercept. What does it mean to find f of 0? You plug in 0 for x, right? So if I plug 0 in right here, 0 squared plus 4 times the 0 minus 12. Yep. Negative 12. Yeah, I said yep. Do you guys understand that? You put 0 in for x, to simplify it, and you get negative 12. So f of 0 is negative 12. You're putting 0 in for x, which is the same thing as finding the y-intercept. Okay, Jordan, be writing this down with us as we go about it. Okay, finding f of 2. F of 2, what does it mean to find f of 2? What does it mean to find f of 2? Plug 2 in. 2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 12. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8 minus 12. 4 plus 8 is 12. Minus 12 is 0. Okay? I just did. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8 minus 12. So 4 plus 8 is 12. 12 minus 12 is 0. Okay, now the last 2, this is where you got to use the quadratic formula. Because it's saying replace f of x with 0. Well, f of x is like the y. So what it's asking you to do is put 0 in right there equals x squared plus 4x minus 12. So this one's asking you to solve that equation. Now, I want you to use the quadratic formula for it. Okay? So we are going to plug these in. We got to know what A, B, and C are. What's A? 1. Good. What's B? And what's C? Negative 12. So we're going to plug these in the formula right now. We're going to go, okay, the quadratic formula. I'm going to move this up. Quadratic formula says x equals the opposite of b. What would the opposite of b be? Negative 4. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. What would b squared be? What would b squared be? 16, because it's 4 times 4, right? 4 squared is 16. Minus 4 times A. What's A? It's 1. What's C? Negative 12. Don't forget it's negative 12. That's really important, or you get it totally wrong. And over 2A, which is 2. What's 16 minus 4 times 1 times negative 12? Put that in your calculator. Everybody type it in your calculator. 16 minus 4 times 1 times negative 12. What do you get? How many of you got 64? Okay, so that is 64. X equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 64 all over 2. This one's a nice one. What's the square root of 64, Spencer? 8. So this comes out to be x equals negative 4 plus or minus 8 over 2. What's negative? Now 2 goes into both those numbers, doesn't it? This 2 will divide into both of those. So 2 will go negative 4 negative 2 times, plus or minus, and 2 will go into 8 4 times. There's our 2 answers, but I got to write them separately. How am I going to get my 2 answers out of that? Well, yeah. 2 is going to be one of my answers. Look, what's negative 2 plus 4, you guys? 2. That's one my answer. What's my other answer? Negative 2 minus 4. What's negative 2 minus 4? Negative 6. Those are my 2 solutions right there. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. Okay, do we understand what we just did right there? Okay, we plugged it all in the did you understand how we got negative 2 plus 4 is 2 and negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6 to get those 2 answers at the end? Okay, now the last problem right here, you guys, is f of x equals 20. How do I write that? Yeah. You guys, the last problem, instead of putting 0 in for f of x, we put 20 in for f of x. Do you see that? Dan, you see that? What? One of the answers is 2. One of the answers is 2. One of them is negative 6. Are you talking about C? Are you talking about part C, Dan? Okay. Yeah, I just showed you both the answers, 2 and negative 6. Okay, now, this is really critical. Everybody look up here. 20 equals x squared plus 4x minus 12. Because it says f of x equals 20. So before you solve using a quadratic equation, because this is a quadratic equation, you got to get one side equal to 0. Which side do you think I'm going to get equal to 0?
Right side.
I'm going to get the left side equal to 0. I'm going to get rid of that 20. How do I do it? Minus 20 from both sides. So you're going to minus 20 from both sides. You get 0 equals x squared plus 4x minus 32. Now, I am going to do the quadratic formula again. What's a, b, and c equal to? And the c equals negative 32, right? I'm going to plug these in the quadratic formula. X equals negative b. What would negative b be? No? What's b? Thank you. Negative 4. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. What's b squared? 16. 4 squared is 16. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 32. All over 2. It's kind of like the last problem, isn't it? A little bit different. So I'm going to put this, everybody put this in your calculator. 16 minus 4 times 1 times negative 32. What is it? It's not negative 112. There's no way it could be negative. Because if you go in 16 minus 4 times 1 times a negative 32, I think you put a positive 32 in there. So what is it? 144. What's the square root of 144? 12. This is a perfect square. So negative 4 plus or minus 12 over 2. Does 2 go into both of those numbers? So what am I going to get? So negative 2 plus or minus 6. And what's negative 2 plus 6? 4. So one of my answers is 4. And negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. There's my two solutions. Okay? Now, I just did problem 10 with you. 11 through 15 need to be done by you. Okay? Now, you guys, number 7 and number 8 are review problems. I'm going to do one of them with you. Which one would you like me to do with you? Huh? 8? Okay, I'll do 8 with you. Everybody go to number 8. Number 8 on your assignment. Graph each of the quadratic functions. So I'm supposed to graph these. I'm going to pull up a graph right here. Why wouldn't it go in? Okay, on number 8, it says I've got 3 equations here. It gives me f of x equals x squared, right? It gives me g of x equals x squared minus 4. And it gives me h of x equals x minus 1 squared minus 4. Okay, now, you guys, it wants us to do some transformations. I don't know if you guys remember. If I go from x squared to x squared minus 4, what happens to the graph? It goes down 4. Do you remember that? The negative 4 shifts it down 4. So here's x squared. X squared is going to look like this. Okay? That's x squared equals 4. X squared minus 4 shifts it down 1, 2, 3, 4 units. It goes like this. I got it off on this side. Okay? What does the x minus 1 inside the parentheses do? Remember this? What does the x minus 1 in parentheses do? Jordan, you guys look. X minus 1. No, not down 1. Left 1. Thank you, Brandon. So it's right here. It moves it left 1. So I would everybody write this down. I would say shifts down 4, and left 1. Down 4 and left 1. That's your answer. Where it says, how do the functions compare to each other? So we did 8a, we graphed them. Then how do the functions compare to each other? Okay. G of x is down 4 from f of x. And h of x is down 4 to the left 1 of f of x. How do g of x and h of x compare to f of x? Well, we kind of answered that already in B. Part D, look back at the functions above and identify the x-intercepts of g of x. What are they? Hey, you guys, this is what you should have found out on this one. G of x is this function right here. What are the x-intercepts? What are they? What's that one? 2, 0. What's this one? Negative 2, 0, right? Okay. Then it says, what are the coordinates of the points corresponding to the x-intercepts in g of x? What are the coordinates of the points corresponding to the x-intercepts and g of x? Well, we just wrote them down. 2 comma 0 and negative 2 comma 0. Corresponding to x. What are the coordinates of the points corresponding to x-intercepts and g of x in each of the other ones? Okay? Well, you guys, these points right here, 2 comma 0 and that, what are the same points in this function right here? That's the same as this point in this function. Does anybody know? Okay, look, you guys all got to listen to this so you understand what this question is asking. Okay, look, this intercept, you go over 1 or over 2 and up 4, right? So if I go from this function, if I go over 2 and up 4, it's this point right here. What point is that? 2 comma 4. And what point is, and this one over here, I go left 2 and up 4. This is negative 2 comma 4, right? Okay. Hey, guys, this assignment, be working on this one. Remember, the other one's due next time. Get it done. I recorded this assignment today, so you should be able to go look at it if you have any troubles.